Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Please check out the KCC Discord linked in the description down below. There you can talk to me and a whole bunch of KCC fans who hang out there on a regular basis. I look forward to seeing you there. Our first story today comes to us from Background Block 2714. Don't feel the need to promote one of us because we have things taken care of? Fine, we'll stick to just doing our job. Let's jump right in. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Classic story, dumb boss trying to short us money, but always so fun to read. I apologize for the length. To provide a bit of the backstory, this happened about 4 years ago now. Myself and my coworkers, 2 others, were delivery drivers for a large food service company. The lead driver at the time was let go, leaving just myself and my coworker. Naturally, about a week after he was let go, we started asking our managers when they would be opening up the lead driver position for applications. Their response was simple and expected. Not right now. We have a lot going on as we're moving into the busy season, and we still need to clean out former employees' crap. Not a big deal. There was a lot of BS to clean up after the former lead was let go. He had been stealing from the company, totals were missing, truck was thrashed, and he had been using the truck storage facility as his own personal storage unit. We had a lot to deal with. As for the 2 of us working there, I had about 3 years on the job experience, and my coworker had almost 5 years in the role. As far as I was concerned, he should be the one getting the promotion. Longer tenure, wife and kids, just me and my cat at the time. And the promotion was an additional $1.50 an hour. No brainer on my end, but him and I both had a feeling they'd want to put me in that position since the big boss butted heads with him a long time ago, and they didn't see eye to eye, and I tended to be a bit better with inter-office politics. Well, about 3 months after the lead was let go, things settled down and we brought up the issue again. When will the lead position be posted? $1.50 an hour adds up fast, and on a flat 40-hour work week, 4 10-hour days, classified in a 5 8-hour work week, meant at least $132 per paycheck and more depending on OT. And we almost always had 10 to 20 hours of OT on a check. Do the math. When we asked again about the position, we were told the same. We're working on it, just be patient. As soon as we can, we'll open it up and we'll make one of you the lead. Well, this irritated both of us, but irritated my coworker even more than me because he felt like that position should have already been his. He'd been doing the routing for the day off the clock, only a 10-minute phone call, handling mechanic appointments as we were a satellite operation 4 hours away from the DC, communicating with warehouse staff, operations management, purchasing equipment and supplies from local stores, etc. I offered to reach out to management, put in my 2 cents and spur things along. He declined my help as he didn't want to butt heads with the big boss again, and possibly risk his job. No problem. So we continued to wait. After 8 months, $4,224 of base additional pay with no OT, neither of us were getting. My coworker was getting quite fed up. Typically, he only talked about something bothering him when he was really pissed off, and he had been talking about this almost every week for a month. So he called up the manager again and asked when they were going to open up the position for applications. The response, "You two have been doing a great job down there. Everything's being handled, so we don't feel the need to create a new position." Oh yeah, this pissed us off big time. This was not creating a position. That lead position had been there for years before he was let go. I once again offered my assistance and opinions on how to speed things along and was declined again. That was until he called me 2 days later after stewing on it and told me to do what I want. So I did. The next morning before unloading the trucks, we sat in the office, drank some coffee, and I told him what we were going to do. We were going to do nothing. We were going to field every single phone call, question, concern, issue, and pass it off to the big boss. He doesn't think we need a lead, so we'll just be drivers. So without providing any notice to the manager or the sales rep, here's a few examples, but y'all get the point. Routing? Call big boss. Issue with delivery? Tell the customer to call the sales rep so they can call big boss, and he can call us to have us go back and fix it. Something we normally would just do. Head mechanic calls us to say we need to schedule a DOT or service? Nope. Call the big boss, tell him he needs to call the local mechanic or schedule it yourself. Customer calls us requesting early delivery en route? Nope. Tell customer to call sales rep, who will need to call big boss, who will need to call us to okay it. But we may not see that call or message for a couple hours, can't talk on the phone and drive. We passed every single phone call and issue off to him. For us, it wasn't a big deal since we could just handle things then and there. A simple go back and pick something up would take 2 minutes. Customer texts us directly, we do it, but we're just drivers. So we ignored the customer, responded back that we couldn't do that anymore, and that they would need to call their sales rep. This made it a 15-minute task at the minimum, but was usually around an hour or two before we could get back to the customer. The fallout? We didn't even make it through the first morning before crap hit the fan. As soon as the first issue popped up, our sales rep called me asking why the customer said I couldn't do something. I told her the story and she was pissed. Not at us, at the big boss. I apologized, reassured her it's not personal, but if they don't pay my coworker to do the job, then we will just do what we are paid to do. My sales rep said she will get this taken care of, but she refuses to work with big boss. She'll quit before that happens. Serious threat from someone with 25 years on the job. Couple hours later, my coworker and I got a call from the big boss. He apologized, told us he was wrong, and that he would open up the position for us to apply, and asked that we go back to what we were doing. We told him no. Until that position is posted, applicant selected, and one of our pay stubs shows the increase in pay, he can continue to handle the phone calls, but thanked him for the apology. We carried on our merry way, and the next day, Big Boss called us, told us the position was listed, asked us each to write up a letter of intent for why we felt like we deserved the position, and they would consider our letters and select one of us. Fantastic. Progress. My coworker pretty much wrote down on his letter that he'd been doing that work for 8 months. He has the seniority, contact information, and knowledge, so he felt he should be considered. I submitted nothing, told my coworker he should have been promoted 8 months ago, and sealed the envelope. I, of course, get a phone call the next day from the big boss, asking why I didn't submit my letter, and I told him just that. You should have promoted my coworker 8 months ago, and I don't want the position. Took a few days, but arms were twisted, and my coworker got his well-deserved promotion. The real push was the sales rep. We found out a couple months after she had called her vice president, told him that this was bogus, and refused to have to work with Big Boss since she couldn't stand him. Well, the vice president of sales got together with the vice president of operations and made the magic happen. Malicious compliance. You say you don't see the need for a lead? We agree, so we won't do the job of one. Coworker thanked me for the help, bought me a couple T-bones, and said he never wants to get on my bad side. I agree with OP on this one. I think far too many people start a new job before they even see a penny of the raise that they're supposed to get. You want to see that it's in your bank account, and then gladly will do the job that they want you to do. Of course, this would only work in certain situations and not for everybody, but we can all sit back and dream, can't we? Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from Moving to Cincinnati. Our landlord told me go ahead, call the city inspector. So I did. Let's jump right in. This happened in 2018. I just moved to a new apartment. It was a 3-bedroom first floor apartment and it had a finished basement. It had 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen on the first floor. It also had a bedroom with a full bath in the basement and a bar and gaming area. It was also in a very nice area of the city. The apartment was owned by a corporation. Honestly, we loved that apartment until it kept having recurring issues in the basement. The carpet was wet from time to time. At first, the landlord would send a cleaner to come and handle it, but it keeps happening. I asked them to check and fix the issue. They did not do it. I told him I'll call the city inspector to check the building. They laughed at me and told me, go ahead, call the city inspector. So I did. I called the city twice until I finally was connected to the right department, and they sent an inspector a week later. The inspector found so many building violations. They told me that they'd contact the building owner and would come again. The next day, the owner called and begged me to tell them what I know about the problem with the apartment. I told them that I sent complaints multiple times. They should check their record. The city inspector, the owner, and the property manager came 2 weeks after that. The city inspector was whooping their butts. He laid it to them. It was bad. They have to deal with structural and foundational issues and some safety issues too. There were 4 tenants in that building, including us. Imagine it was a big colonial multi-family home divided into 4 apartments. They had to break the lease with all of us to fix the building. They couldn't fix it with us being there. We were ready and already consulted a lawyer. We told them that 1, we want our deposit back before moving out, 2, they paid for all of our moving expenses, and 3, they paid for our deposit at the next place. They could not kick us out. They could not rent the apartment after the inspections. There were 4 of us, and we could all sue them for placing us in a dangerous building. In the end, they spent so much money to relocate us and fix the apartment. Now, OP added an edit onto this one. It says, "Wow, this blew up. Thanks for the awards. I just want to clarify on some stuff. 1, the other tenants received money and compensation from the landlord too. They also got their moving costs covered as well. I did not make them homeless. Some of them thanked me. 2, we moved to a new neighborhood that was only 5 minutes walk to my office. It was a single family house. We loved that neighborhood. It was so LGBTQ friendly. We stayed there for a year until we bought our house. The rent was actually cheaper. 3, the building was owned by a corporation, so when I say landlord, it refers to the owner and property manager. I hope they learned their lesson." When I was living out in the prairies in Canada, I actually had a situation that was kinda similar to this one. We had a landlord that wouldn't do any necessary maintenance on the house that me and 2 roommates were living in. So we called the fire inspector to come in and take a look at the house. They got a list of things they had to fix in that house. The owner of the house, the landlord, actually showed up and threatened us with a power drill in his hand. It didn't turn out too well for him when the police got called. Anyway, this next story comes to us from Melvin the Brave. Get in, losers. We're complying maliciously. Let's jump right in. We all do stupid stuff in our 20s. Well, for me, it was moving into a shoddy apartment with my fellow mental health risk friend. We were both well aware that we may have to break lease at some point, so we found an apartment that was just barely within price range and had the option to break the lease early. It was okay at first. There was linoleum peeling up in the bathroom, and if we didn't wipe down the windowsills, and particularly the far corner ceiling of my bedroom, then we would get mold. But this is Oregon, and as a food stamp family, as I was called in school, I am familiar with mold. No biggie. Then our washer, which we were paying an extra $100 a month to have in our unit, started leaking. We put in a maintenance request and tack on the peeling linoleum as well, since they'd already be in our unit to fix the washer. They patched up the washer and did a half-butt job repairing the patch of linoleum. A month later, the linoleum, since they had not actually fixed the underlying problem of the peeling linoleum, it had come up again. The corner sliced my foot open, and the bathroom sink, washer, and dishwasher all had problems of one kind or another. They came in again, said that if we wanted them to fix that patch again, it would cost $450 to replace the whole floor. The patch was like a 2-foot square, so that just never got repaired. 2 months, 3 hospital trips for my ex-roommate, a still broken dishwasher that was unusable, a leaky washer, and a close call later, roommate has POTS, fell down the stairs. We put in a request for accommodation to be released to our respective parents on the grounds of mental and physical disability. They denied the request, simply offering to move us to a downstairs apartment. They don't want to let us out of this lease even though my roommate almost cracked her head on the stairs? Fine. Malicious compliance incoming. I went through the lease agreement to figure out how much it would be to break the lease. And I quote, "Fee to break this lease is $1.50, 1.5 times rent if left blank." Someone either messed up the paperwork or figured that no one would read it. So I put in a 30-day notice of intent to move out with $1.50 worth of quarters in the envelope. Aftermath. They tried to tell us we couldn't move out because it's 1.5 times rent, not $1.50. threatened us with lawyers, called their bluff, suggested they reread the lease agreement they signed, paid my half of the repairs, and haven't heard from them in like 3 months. Still keeping all the emails and such in case I get a letter from a lawyer, still have zero intention to pay that 1.5 times rent. OP, if they do contact you in this case, I think you're gonna get a little bit screwed, because an obvious typo isn't really going to hold up in court. They're gonna take one look at it, go, yeah, they didn't mean to put a $sign there, and they're gonna overturn it and you're gonna owe them money. So just keep that in mind and maybe start saving. This next story comes to us from Tiger Dragon 180. You need a better reason than that to work here. Let's jump right in. An old but gold one. My first job was at a terrible office supply store, often associated with staplers. Started under a great GM who got transferred to bail out a failing store. Our new guy was fresh from corporate, with a name like Joe or John, most generic, overly smiling white guy who spouts corporate slogans. Well, he drove off all the cashiers, except little old me, who was a fresh-faced just out of high school idiot. He blocked my transfer to be a tech, approved by the old GM, and as I said, ran off every cashier. Well, it came to a head one day where he scheduled a tech to cover the register for closing, and the tech didn't show because why would he? He didn't want to sit at a cash register. Naturally, he tells me I have to stay there until someone comes to relieve me. Being young, I just went with it, but had a time I had to be gone by to get to class. That time comes, I make a fuss, and manager comes to relieve me instead. He decides I'm out of line not staying past a 12-hour shift and putting class above work. He lays into me about this and how a customer heard me complaining how unacceptable, not like he let me take breaks anyway, so I had nowhere else to complain at. It culminates in this big, what was probably supposed to be an inspiring speech about what motivates me, to which I say, frankly, money. What else motivates a minimum wage cashier to work there? This makes him quite upset as he babbles that it's not a good enough reason. Demands I go home, my shift is well past over, and I got class I'm late for, and look deep inside myself, and I better find another reason or else. Or else this job isn't a good fit for me, and he wants it to be a good fit, or else, because he sees big things in my future, manager things. So naturally, I change in the bathroom and go to class, thinking long and hard, and come back to hand in my 2 weeks as clearly I wasn't a good fit. Then, a day later, after a terrible closing shift, I just don't come back. Even told the closing manager, wouldn't it be funny if I just didn't come in to open tomorrow? Which was met with a very serious stern, "Don't even joke like that, it's not funny," to which I replied, "Who said I'm joking?" before walking away and never speaking to them again. Now, OP added a really quick edit onto the bottom. It says, "Probably not as funny as I thought. Most of the funny parts were his face, the shock when his inspirational heart-to-heart had me quitting rather than pledging allegiance to the company, and the managers when it dawned on them that I was just done. By all means, I complied. I couldn't find a reason besides money, so I found another job that night that was a better fit. And I was going to joke about not coming in, but they annoyed me being all serious about not joking like that, so it wasn't a joke anymore." Someone down below commented to OP saying, "Well done, you're absolutely right, and I bet that experience has served you well." To which OP replied, "Learned real quick, if anyone says I can't take a break because there is no one to cover for me, to turn around and say, 'Shame we will have to shut down for a bit, isn't it? Unless you want to cover my break that I'm legally entitled to.'" Now, I can understand that point of view, especially if this is something that's happening to you over and over and over again. But if it's not something that ever happens and this was the first time, sometimes you should just take one for the team. It'll make you look good in the long run as well. Just don't allow them to keep taking advantage of you, because that leads to a really crappy situation. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.